Part 1 fully addresses the reconnection. Chapter 1, the purpose. The reconnection cannot be defined in one or two sentences, as it is truly multifaceted and requires a great deal of unpacking to be able to fully comprehend its message. For this reason, instead of writing a more lengthy introduction, I decided to dedicate the first chapter of the book for this purpose, to summarize and overview the reconnection so that the reader could gain a good understanding of where we are going with the book right from the start. Chapter 2, the hour before the wedding. Need I say more? The hour before the wedding can so often be a mess and with last-minute panic, with all sorts of things going wrong. But when the bride walks down the aisle, everything is just beautiful and serene. This is how it will be for those of us whose oil is burning brightly when our bridegroom calls us and returns to us. But the hour before? This is where we are presently in the body of Messiah, in the body of Christ, between Jew and Gentile in the faith, with lots of issues still affecting us and standing in the way of this renewed unity that the Father is looking for at this time, and lots of it without us even knowing it. Chapter 2 is perhaps one of the most sensitive and delicate chapters for our Gentile family. It exposes and effectively deals with all past bloodline influences through our Gentile family. And it makes a very good, clear-cut case for how the church in the nations has been affected by the actions of its ancestry and the continuing influences of generational anti-Semitism. It further explains how these influences have affected us and why up to this point we have not been able to see the end of days as clearly as the Father and Yeshua see them, and why there is still so much confusion with our differing understandings and interpretations. But in order for us to get totally restored and healed from all of these past influences and the way that the enemy of our souls has been using it against us, we must be willing to look back in order for us to move forward, to find our destinies. I felt strongly that it was important to address these issues at the beginning of the book, up front, because the reconnection is so much more about all of the incredible, wonderful, positive elements it actually brings about, rather than the negative issues that need to be dealt with and faced. But without addressing and confronting and effectively dealing with them, we can remain stained by our past, and the enemy can still use it against us. And it is time now for the devil to be fully exposed in this place. Chapter 2 opens the doors to our hearts of our Gentile family to begin to receive the mercy of God for Jew and Gentile to be fully reconciled. It is one of the most powerful chapters in the book. Chapter 3, Who is Israel? The thought process behind this chapter is to try to bring greater clarity and understanding as to exactly who Israel is. Is the church Israel? Is Israel the church? And what of the physical seed of Israel, the Jewish people? What of Jewish believers? And what of God's believing children from the nations? And exactly who is the Israel of God? Chapter 3 addresses these issues and answers these questions. How and where do we all fit in, especially now as we come down to the period where Israel is to be fully awakened and the Lord is to return to us. Israel comes in to her fullness and all of the different pieces begin to fall into place. Chapter 3 also brings a greater definition to the differing paths of Israel through the teachings of the Apostle Paul in Romans chapter 11. Both believing Jews in Yeshua, known as the remnant, and the broken off branches that ultimately will be restored. In the final part of the chapter, we begin to introduce our Gentile family to their Jewish family in the faith, honoring those who've gone before us to help pave the way. Chapter 4, a taste of milk and honey. Chapter 4 presents a taste of milk and honey, a future picture of what the world may actually look like when the Lord returns to establish his throne here on the earth. Not just the excitement of it, but also its reality. This chapter presents a freshened perspective on eschatology. Eschatology is end-time theology, and more from a messianic perspective and viewpoint. But it also challenges the preciseness of our differing eschatological views, especially the divisiveness it causes. It challenges all believers in Jesus to be more tolerant and loving and open-minded towards each other regarding end-time views. Chapter 4 ends with the seeding of the strategies and the battles that lay ahead of us and what it is going to take to help establish God's kingdom on the earth.